Also, Mr. Kant, it's quite interesting to see that this time around the court has apparently decided that the date of the, the punishment, the date of the verdict, as well as the date of the announcement of the quantum is on the same date. Usually, in most of these high-profile cases, we have seen that the courts, of course, there is no such rule, but there is a precedent that courts choose to have these on two separate dates. But Javed, the political ramifications clearly are massive, aren't they?
They are indeed, and now all eyes will be on the big question is who will succeed her, because it's now abundantly clear that she will have to, in all probability, have to quit as Chief Minister, in which case, who is she going to nominate as a successor? I'm sure she must have had that mind. She must have already, she must have decided who that person will be. She will call the shots. She's the one who's going to decide. There are various names floating around, but we don't know for sure. But it will be very important to learn to know who that person will be. The last time something similar happened in 2001, she had nominated somebody. Now, who is that person who she will nominate to succeed her as Chief Minister?
And you have rightly pointed out that in most of the cases, the important cases, the sentencing is on a different date. There's always a time gap between that. But I think in this, because the political ramifications are such that they have decided to, do both as far as conviction and the sentencing both on the same day. Because in the sentencing, again, the lawyers have a right to put their viewpoints forward. There would be argument on the sentencing part, and they would surely, Jayalalitha's lawyer would try to get the minimum.
Which basically means, Mr. Kant,
yes,
Mr. Kant, which basically would mean that this argument too is going to take time. So the quantum of punishment could in fact extend, say, to another 2 or 3 hours. We could expect that the quantum of punishment could be pronounced maybe closer to the evening.
Yes, surely it can. It can, because you will be given an opportunity to argue.
All right, Mr. Kant, sorry to cut you short. We have the petitioner in this entire case in 1998, Mr. Subramaniam Swamy. Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, your initial reaction to this court order?
This is something I filed in 1996.
96.
And
yes,
it was open shut case then, but the usual facilities of a rich person that Ms. Jayalalitha is. She had the best lawyers and they have been buying time, and finally it came before a judge who was a very upright judge, and we got justice. I think Ms. Jayalalitha should know that corruption doesn't pay, and that goes with all others also who have been in powerful positions, that the country's mood has changed and we want to fight corruption.
Now, Dr. Swamy, why were you so convinced that this case is going to be or will be heavily tilted against her? All right, we'll try going back to Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. Remember, he was the one who filed the petition in the first place on the 14th of June, 1996. Dr. Subramaniam Swamy filed that petition against J. Jayalalitha, and then on the 21st of June that very year, the Principal District and Sessions Judge directed Letika Saran, the IPS, to investigate the private complaint. And subsequently, we know what is now known as the DA case, J. Jayalalitha disproportionate assets case, in which a conviction has taken place today. It's an 18-year-long legal journey. The state has also changed. Initially, the court was in Tamil Nadu, but then it was shifted. A special court complex was made in the state of Karnataka. There have been 5 judges who have in fact heard this entire case over a period of 6 to 8 years, including Justice A.S. Pachapure, Justice A.T. Munoli, Justice B.M. Mallikarjunaiah, Justice M.S. Balakrishnan, and the present judge who pronounced Jayalalitha guilty, Justice John Michael D'Cunha. That's the latest coming in at this moment. It'll be also interesting to see what really is going to be the development as far as law and order is concerned. Remember, heavy police deployment has been put along the neighboring towns or the border towns of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Bus services have been shut. We have seen certain sporadic protests that have taken place since morning, where AIA-DMK workers have clashed with the police. What is going to be the political temperature as far as this story is concerned? How the dynamics, the political dynamics of Tamil Nadu are going to change, that is also something that is going to unfold. But the most immediate crisis that is going to hit the state of Tamil Nadu, Javed, is going to be who then becomes the successor. Who then becomes the successor to J. Jayalalitha?
Well, obviously, and she'll be. I'm sure she's decided on who that person will be. We'll know as the day goes by as to who that person will be. Lots of names being speculated about. There's some talk of a favorite bureaucrat, high-ranking bureaucrat who happens to be her confidant and favorite, that he might replace her, or that she might pick somebody from within the AIDMK ranks. She hasn't revealed her cards, but the grapevine, there are lots of names floating around. We can't say for sure till we can confirm reports from our sources and from people higher up in the AIDMK hierarchy as to who that person will be.
Absolutely. Let's quickly cut across live to the Parappan Agrahara prison complex where T.S. Sudhir now joins us. Sudhir, just take us through what is happening at this moment.
Well, just a quick update. The two sections under which this has been, she has been charged is she has been convicted is section 120B and section 109. Apart from section 13(1)(e) of the Prevention of Corruption Act, probably Gaurang Kant would be able to throw more light as to what these two first sections, 120B and 109, entail in
120B,
terms of
Sudhir,
the
means criminal
quantum of
conspiracy.
sentencing.
What is the other section that you
Yes,
said?
criminal conspiracy. What would be the quantum of sentencing?
Okay, Mr. Gaurang Kant, you heard those sections.
And 109. And 109.
109, 120B. Can you tell us what this means and what can be the quantum of punishment?
It would be conspiracy 120B, and the quantum of punishment would be 2 years and up. And 109, I think it would be similarly attracted to.
All right,
Okay,
Sudhir.
just to
Yeah.
Sanket,
Please go on.
Sanket, just to take forward that question that you just now asked to Javed, there are at least half a dozen names which are actually doing the rounds in Tamil Nadu for the last couple of weeks. Three of them present sitting ministers in the Tamil Nadu cabinet. One, of course, is Paneerselvam, who served as chief minister briefly the last time Jayalalitha was asked to step down. There is Senthil Balaji, who is the transport minister. There is, of course, Vishwanathan, who is the power minister. But apart from that, there are this couple of dark horses names which are also doing the round, which includes a couple of bureaucrats like former chief secretary Sheila Balakrishnan. There's also the name of Vishalakshmi Nedunchajan, who was a senior leader of the AIDMK during MGR's time, and the widow of Nedunchajan has been pretty active in the AIDMK of late, and she could be a dark horse if Jayalalitha is forced to step down as the chief minister of Tamil Nadu, which looks now very likely given the fact that she has been convicted. So there are these half a dozen names which are doing the rounds in Tamil Nadu, but you never know with Jayalalitha. At the end of the day, it's going to be her decision who she trusts completely with the job while she is out of the chief minister's job.
And Sudhir, what is likely to happen today? Now that we know that there is a conviction, there will be a quantum of punishment that is going to be announced. The years can, in fact, we will get to know about the number of years in a little while from now. But what happens, say, at 6 p.m. today? Does Jayalalitha go back or does she stay in Bangalore in that prison complex?
Well, if it is less than 3 years, she goes back to Chennai. But if it's more than 3 years, given the fact that this is the weekend, tomorrow is Sunday, it's quite likely that she could have to spend a couple of days, couple of nights in the Bangalore Central Prison complex, and thereafter perhaps shifted to a court in jail in Tamil Nadu, given the fact that the case was filed in Tamil Nadu. So the Bangalore Central Prison could be some kind of a transit prison for Jayalalitha if she is convicted for more than 3 years. That's a legal opinion which is coming from all these lawyers who are here at the Bangalore Special Court out here, because they do believe that if the conviction is for more than 3 years, they will not send her to Chennai immediately.
Now, Javed, he was very categorically mentioning, and perhaps rightfully so, to a question that whether it would impact Tamil Nadu politics. He said, obviously it will impact Tamil Nadu politics. Now, that's a given, but in what magnitude and in what proportion is something that would be a subject of debate, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, and it really opens up the game in Tamil Nadu. As the situation obtains today, Jayalalitha stands convicted. The DMK is reeling under the impact. They are fighting their own corruption cases. The Congress is virtually non-existent. The BJP is still a new player. So it's anybody's game in Tamil Nadu. Convention wisdom would be that the main opposition party, in this case the DMK, will move in, because politics doesn't function in a vacuum. The thing that is in favor of the IDMK and Ms. Jayalalitha is that there are no elections scheduled for the next 2 years. So she has time. But nonetheless, this certainly it would lead to a realignment. We have reports of Mr. Ramdas having called on Mr. Karunanidhi a couple of days ago. Mr. Vaiko, who estranged from Karunanidhi several years ago, is now looking at ways to build fences with the DMK leader. So perhaps things would be slightly to the DMK's advantage, but it will all depend on how Jayalalitha can manage her affairs and the quantum of punishment. If she's in it for a long haul, then perhaps this could be very
absolutely. And in fact, Sudhir, it will be interesting to know what really is happening in the other camp in Tamil Nadu, which is the DMK. We'll try to get a reaction from DMK representatives also. But earlier this day, Sudhir, you were reporting that Stalin has gone and met Karunanidhi. They are also strategizing. What really can their political strategy be?
Well, Sanket, before I go talk about the DMK, quick update from inside the court. We are told that the public prosecutor has asked for a sentencing of 7 years, which is the maximum under this section 13(1)(e) of the Prevention of Corruption Act. The defense has argued that they should take her age and her health condition into account before pronouncing the sentence. So that's the brief update which we have just now got out of the special court here in Bangalore. You spoke about the DMK. Yes, the DMK is strategizing because for them the 2016 election is extremely significant given the fact that they drew a blank, a zero in the 2014 Lok Sabha elections.
All right, we are joined in by all our reporters who are covering each and every detail of this particular story. We have Ratnika Sharma, Rohini Swami as well as Shrisha Reddy joining us. I'd like to cut across to Shrisha first. Now Shrisha, take us through what exactly is happening at the Poise Garden residence of J. Jayalalitha. I believe that there was some premature celebration that was taking place. Right, we'll try going across to Shrisha in just a short moment. I have been told by the producer that her line has been disconnected. But Javed, coming across to you, what really, I mean, it was a classic case of premature celebration as far as the AIA-DMK cadre was concerned. They were hoping against hope that there will be no conviction.
Extremely surprising sitting here because the feedback that we were getting from people was that a sentencing is imminent. However, seeing the mood on the ground, one was getting a different picture. But now, emotive scenes playing out and it's all building up and I'm afraid there is every likelihood and I'm sure the police and the Home Department of Tamil Nadu and in Bangalore must be at tenterhooks because if tradition is anything to go by, if past is anything to go by, these things often spill over and they take an ugly turn. And this is what the state administration must be trying to ensure that things, because as it is, crowds have gathered outside Karunanidhi's house. They have welcomed this verdict. There are crowds outside Jayalalitha's house. They've been burning effigies of the DMK chief and of Dr. Subramanian Swamy.
Okay. So Javed, if you could just stay with us. I believe we have Mr. Ilangovan of the DMK with us at this moment. Mr. Ilangovan, can you hear me? All right, we'll try going across to Mr. T.K.S. Ilangovan of the DMK in just a short moment from now. We have our correspondents also with us. Ratnika also joins us. Ratnika, the location where you are at this moment, can you tell us what is happening there? I believe there were some protests that actually broke out.
Well, I'm at this village called Ulayalam in Krishnagiri district in Tamil Nadu, and not only this village but about 50-60 villages surrounding this area are AIA-DMK supporters. They have been praying since morning that Jayalalitha should not get convicted, should not get arrested. I have some panchayat members here with me. Now that Ms. Jayalalitha has been convicted, Pongal feeling, Yen?
இது எங்களுக்கு மட்டுமல்ல தமிழக மக்கள் அனைவருமே துயரப்படக்கூடிய நாளாக இன்று அமைந்துள்ளது. அவர்களுடைய குற்றச்சாட்டு நிரூபிக்கப்பட்டது என்பது எங்களால் அனைவருமே நம்ப முடியாத விஷயமாக கருதப்படுகிறது. தமிழ்நாடு முதல் மாநிலமாக இந்தியாவில் எடுத்து வர வேண்டும் என்பதற்காக அந்த அம்மா ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டு இருக்கிறாங்க. எவ்வளோ ஸ்கீம் ஏழைகளுக்கு அனைவருக்குமே எல்லாருக்குமே நல்ல ஸ்கீம் கொண்டு வந்து நல்ல பண்ணிருக்காங்க.
Ratnika, sorry to cut you short. We have Mr. Ilangovan with us of the DMK. Mr. Ilangovan, your initial reaction to this court order?
See, we were accused of filing false charges against Jayalalitha out of political vendetta. Now our stand, we are absolved of that stand. The judiciary, the judge has awarded sentence for her activity. So first thing is, we cannot be charged as filing false allegations against her. Secondly, justice which was delayed for so many years, was not denied. So we are happy.
No, apart from happiness, Mr. Elangovan, obviously there seems to be some political strategy that the DMK is putting in place. I mean, why else would Mr. Stalin want to meet Mr. Karunanidhi on a crucial day like this? Are you planning to reap electoral dividends from what has happened in the court today?
Definitely, it is for the people to say it is for the people to decide whether to have a party which has involved in so much of corruption. So we have our own agenda earlier. Even not only this, apart from this, the AIADMK government for the past 3 years has failed in all respects. Failed in maintaining law and order, failed in industrial development, failed in economic growth, failed in providing electricity, failed in protecting farmers. In every area, this government has failed. So along with that, we will add to that and we will go to the people.
No, Mr. Elangovan, my final question to you and the most important one is, are you trying to say that in the back of this verdict, Jayalalitha and the AIADMK in particular should step down? There should be fresh elections?
There should
be a new mandate?
It is again, I'll tell you, when this charge was framed, none of the other people were her colleagues in the cabinet. So she is the culprit during her earlier tenure. During 91 and 96, there were 4 ministers who were arrested, who were sentenced for this disproportionate sex case. She was escaping that. Now she was also sentenced. Now, if they have the number, let them have set up a fresh government led by some other people. We are not going to demand for any dissolution of the assembly, or we are not going to put pressure on the governor to do something unconstitutional.
Mr. Elangovan, Javed Ansari, our executive editor, is also in the studio. He wants to ask you a question. Yes, Javed.
Mr. Elangovan, what is the DMK planning to do now? Do you believe, and tell us in yes or no, do you believe that this government should quit and you want fresh elections?
No, we are not demanding any fresh elections. We have no idea of demanding because they have the numbers. Let them select a new leader. There are a lot of areas in this government, and along with it, the chief minister itself is arrested, sentenced for corruption. So with these things, we will go to the people. The elections are in another 1.5 years. The elections are due. So we are not going to put any pressure on these for the dismissal of the government or dissolution of assembly.
Mr. Elangovan, do you feel that there will be electoral reverses after this particular order, which means that there could perhaps be a possibility that the DMK would try to rejuvenate itself in the backdrop of this order?
It is only, we know that even during last parliament elections, they had to spend crores and crores of money to win elections. Even for an ordinary local body election, they had to put pressure on the opposition candidates, purchase them. They have to take up all unlawful activities. Otherwise, they would not have won. So they have lost the support of the people. Only thing is that we are waiting for the elections. There is no need for us to put more pressure on that. We have won 3 elections continuously. They had won only 2 elections. Now she will lose. The party AIADMK will lose. Because the administration is so worse that in every area, in every department, this government has failed to deliver.